The best of Money Matters. Under the Radar.
You're listening to Money FM 89.3, and it's now time for Under the Radar with me, twentieth. Now, helping businesses manage their customers more effectively and efficiently, that is the work of our guest for today, Salesforce. Now, founded in 1999, Salesforce pioneered a software as a service or SaaS model by bringing customer relationship management or CRM software to the cloud. Now, you might have heard of the term CRM for quite some time, but while CRM might seem like a buzzword that came about towards the end of the 20th century, the concept is fairly easy to understand and has been practiced for thousands of years by traders. To a customer selling goods or services, CRM basically means keeping a record of a customer's profile and transaction history and analyzing that information to help it better sell to the customer again. Now, take for instance how you might receive a voucher in your email inbox during your birthday to buy your favorite cake from the neighborhood grocery store. But these days, customer relationship management goes beyond just promotions. It includes managing a firm's internal resources against demand, its marketing and channel strategies, its data storage processes, its customer service platforms, and even more. So Salesforce software is enabling over 150,000 companies, including notable names like FairPrice Group, Panasonic, Schneider Electric, and the Singapore Airlines to do all of that. The firm is also helping its customers around the world deploy its digital labor platform, Agentforce. Now, companies can use Agentforce to build and deploy autonomous agents that can reason, decide, act and drive meaningful outcomes 24/7. Now, think your service agents, sales development representatives, sales coaches, marketing campaign assistants. So what should we know about Salesforce's Agentforce platform, and how will the solution augment its growth trajectory right here in ASEAN? Now, meanwhile, Salesforce had in March 2025 pledged to invest over $1 billion in Singapore over 5 years. But what was the rationale behind the move, and how far is Singapore a bright spot for the firm? Now, lots of questions, as you can imagine, and joining me right here in the studio is Sujith Abraham, Senior VP and General Manager of ASEAN at Salesforce. Sujith, welcome to the show.
Tian, thank you for having me.
Great to have you on board. And Sujith, we've briefly talked about Salesforce as this company that pioneered software as a service model by bringing CRM to the cloud. But let's hear from you. How would you define the value proposition and the business model of Salesforce?
Well, you're right. As you mentioned, we pioneered this whole idea of putting CRM front office applications in the cloud. And what that did was it democratized access to applications that allowed your sales, your service, and your marketing departments to be connected, right? So they're working together as a team. What's really exciting, though, today is that we have gone full on into the AI world, right? So we're taking all of that customer centricity and supercharging that with agentic AI. So that's a huge opportunity for us and a huge opportunity for to help our customers drive hyper-personalization at scale. And I think beyond that, though, and something that's really important to us is also our values. Our number one value is trust. Without that, we're nowhere with our customers. And so we lead with trust, customer success, innovation, equality, sustainability, and every Salesforce employee knows this really well. And it really is how we engage in everything we do. I think the third thing that I think about when I think about the value proposition from Salesforce is we are cognizant of the fact that it's about giving back to the communities we serve. So our 1-1-1 model, 1% of our time, product, equity goes into giving back to the communities we serve.
Okay, and I do want to talk about AI for a bit. I understand Salesforce has been big on AI, not just right now, but also some 20 over years ago when it first started. Has that been a part of your value proposition? Or if now you are tapping on agentic AI and so on and so forth, is there a shift? Is there a change or enhancement to your value proposition?
I would say it's a complement. We started off in 2014 with predictive AI, right? So predicting patterns and based on the data we're collecting. Because when you think about this whole customer 360, you're collecting all these data points and trying to figure out which way is a customer likely going to go. What's the next buying action? What happened, though, in the last couple of years is we also moved into the whole generative AI, right? And that allowed us to ask unstructured questions. And now we're at this point where we're leading with agentic AI. And we had to because we're sitting on 250 petabytes of data, 150,000 customers all simultaneously accessing it. So it's an incredible opportunity for us to help our customers.
Okay. Let's talk about specific product offerings, Sujith, for the man in the street. Salesforce provides CRM or customer relationship management solutions for firms across a broad range of industries, from automotive to energy to manufacturing, non-profit, private sector, public sector, retail, and even more. Every company have varying needs. And as I was searching up your company, the solutions are tailored to different industries. So how would you describe your product offerings in layman terms? Are you looking at front-end services like customer service, lead generation, or are you looking at back-end services like ERP, resource planning, campaign management, and so on and so forth?
Well, it's a bit of both. So when we think about the front office, right, we think about salespeople, service people, marketing people. And you had that great example of coupons, right, when somebody receives a coupon. That starts the process of a lead, right? And so you go from marketing to your salesperson. Hopefully the salesperson converts that. And then the service person, you want to continue that whole continuum with the customer and drive a great experience. So our basic opportunity here is to drive a great experience and drive success for our customers, help them connect with their customers in new ways. Now, when it comes to the offering, of course, we serve industries, banking, telco, insurance, any of the industries you can think of, and we have industry models. So it's not just a cosmetic change if you're talking about a bank. We don't just put, a new field name on there and say all of a sudden it's families and contacts. We actually build the workflows that support issuing a loan, or if you're an insurance company filing a claim, or a hospital managing a patient. And we serve customers all through every segment. So from the smallest to the largest, and we have a whole set of products from our starter suite, which allows companies to get up and running and access AI right away without a lot of thinking, all the way through our unlimited edition, which is more sophisticated, more advanced, and it's just unlocking capabilities. So we serve all kinds of segments, all kinds of industries, all kinds of regions.
So it's fairly dependent on the workflow, but whatever the case is, the services that you're offering is end-to-end from the front all the way to the back office.
Correct. See, on the back office, which has become really central, is the whole idea of bringing data together. So we have a platform called Data Cloud that allows us to bring all your data together, because that's really fundamental to having good AI. So the front end is about engaging with your customers and helping our customers engage with their customers better. The back end is around bringing all of their data together. That's often the conversation I have with a lot of leaders. How do I start with AI? And that comes back to bringing your data together.
Is there a specific slant towards a certain industry or certain groups of industries, particularly right here in ASEAN or in Singapore?
So we don't have any biases on any industries at all. It really depends on the market, right? We know that depending on what market you're in, we have a thriving manufacturing culture in Thailand. There's agriculture in other parts. So what I can tell you is we serve all these industries without bias or anything like that. But we do see patterns, right? So for sure, banking, telco, retail, manufacturing, these are all quite popular. We see the fintechs. Our SMB segment, one of our fastest growing segments, is also very vibrant. And so we build for all of these areas.
So in terms of who makes up a larger proportion of your clients, is it manufacturing, F&B, and ASEAN for now?
We've got a huge portfolio, right? And we serve all these industries.
I am sure, because that's what we are going to talk about right now, your customers, because Salesforce serves over 150,000 companies globally. No surprises that they cover all industries and sectors. And we're talking about players including your FairPrice Group, Panasonic, Schneider Electric, even GovTech and CPF Board. So who are your major customers right here in ASEAN? If I can try my luck, how would you segment them?
We follow segments that they're in, right? So we cover a number of industries. I can give you examples of some of the customers. You mentioned a number, FairPrice, the government, CPF. We have M1, for example, our telco here, Singapore Airlines. We've got Vietcom Bank in Vietnam, Philippine Airlines. We've got Prism Plus, Aureus Academy, all of them looking at how they connect with their clients.
If I could stretch it a little further, Which is the most important customer group for you where money is concerned? What is the average ticket size we are looking at for a small and medium enterprise and also for an MNC?
So our focus is always the same, right? Our focus is always how do we drive customer success, right? No matter what industry it is, no matter what size it is. We do really have dedicated teams, whether it's by industry or customer segment. Our focus is always how are we going to help them drive success? How are we going to help them drive new pathways to their markets? How are we going to help them innovate? That's always been our focus.
Could you give us a sensing of the scale we're looking at for SME, perhaps in terms of the number of people or the number of data points you're dealing with versus an MNC, just so that we can have a sensing of, who you're working with?
Yeah, so when you look at SMEs, right, a lot of times we see a number of them coming up from the fintechs, from the logistics segments, but what they're dealing with most is constrained resources.
Okay.
So our focus tends to be how do we help them get up and running without having to customize or configure the software, right? And that comes with years and years of building best practice in. So in the early stages, we have a solution for them that allows them to get up and running very, very quickly, answer a few questions, and be able to drive customer centricity. As they grow bigger, let's say they grow into a larger telco, they grow into a larger financial services institution, we unlock capability that allows them to tailor the product more and more to the nuances of their business. So it's really fundamentally the same product set, but unlocking capability to allow for flexibility. But all of that, and especially today, is something where they can access our AI platform. And through innovations like low code and our data cloud platform, which I mentioned, which allows them to bring their data together faster and drive amazing AI.
Which means a company can start tapping Salesforce's service as a team of, let's say, 5, and it can move on all the way to a few 100,000.
That's exactly right. And I love that idea of the team of 5, because that team of 5, especially today, can do even more with the embedded
digital
AI
labor.
capability. Yes, digital labor, correct.
Okay. Now, let's talk more about ASEAN, Sujith. Appreciate it if you could take us through your global footprint and the role ASEAN and Singapore play in contrast or against the wider global portfolio for the firm.
Well, what I can tell you, you may have seen, Mark was actually here just a few weeks ago. We had an amazing dinner with him, with some of the leaders in this community. It's an incredibly important market for us, and I'll explain why. We have 700 million people across ASEAN, roughly, right? We have, 3.8 trillion in GDP. We also have nuances, right? We're not one contiguous country, one contiguous currency, so that there are nuances we have to tailor for. And at the same time, it is a very, very digitally motivated marketplace. Everybody is going digital. Everybody, we see even at home here with how accessible the CPF is. We look at what customers like Singapore Airlines are doing. There's a huge, huge focus on digital. Look at Grab. Again, lots of digital native, lots of digital development. So it was absolutely something that we took on full force. And so, we, as you mentioned, we started in 99, but or 97 rather, and we established our offices here in Singapore in 2004.
Wow.
And so we've been around for a while in Singapore, but 2021 was a pivotal year for us, because that was when we started to expand into the rest of ASEAN. So we opened our first entity in Thailand outside of Singapore in 2021. And then 2023, we opened our entity in Indonesia. That same year, we also announced Hyperforce. Hyperforce is a public cloud offering of Salesforce on the Amazon cloud. Did the same thing in 2021 as well in Singapore. We've since opened up offices. And so it's a very, very important market for us. And I'll tell you, I spend a lot of time on airplanes just in this region because my teams can't get to our customers fast enough.
Okay, 2 parts to my next question. Is Singapore a major demand market, or is it a strategic market operationally for Salesforce as AI development hub? And within ASEAN right now in 2025, which is the most important geographical market to you financially?
Okay, so first and foremost, it is both. It is a demand market, and it's also a place where we're developing, right? So, we started here. It was our foray into the ASEAN market, and we spent developing it for a number of years. That's why our first public cloud instance of Salesforce was here. because we wanted to be able to ensure we could access the regulated industry. So it's an incredibly, incredibly important demand market for us. And, frankly speaking, when you think about the population size, 6 million people, right? Mm-hmm. It's operating at a global scale. We want to be able to enable companies and organizations here to be able to scale, and we think we have a great offering. At the same time, we have amazing universities here. Mm-hmm. We have amazing government standards and regulations that are real advocates for AI. So it behooved us to open up our first AI research center in Singapore, outside of the U.S. We've filed over 100 patents. And what our AI Research Center does is fundamental. It informs our products. It informs our own internal operations. But it also informs a lot of the innovation that's happening out in the market. I think in terms of your question of what's your most important market, I tell you what, all of them are showing incredible pieces of demand, right? So we started in Singapore. We opened up in Indonesia and Thailand, all because we're seeing demand from all directions coming in, all types of industries, and we're going to continue expanding into the rest of ASEAN.
Speaking of expanding into ASEAN, you gave me a tease. I must ask the follow-up question. Where are you thinking of expanding next, or are you deepening a footprint in Indonesia and Thailand?
Well, here's the thing, Tian. If I tell you everything, you won't invite me back. So you're going to have to watch this space.
Okay, you must give us a heads up before that, okay? And we will have you back on the show. Sujith, let's take a look at where things are at for the firm, because Salesforce in late May reported results for the first quarter of fiscal year 2026, ended 30th of April 2025. Now, I believe the firm delivered a strong set of earnings. If we look at Q1 revenue up 8% year-on-year to $9.8 billion USD. How would you assess the firm's performance right here in ASEAN? If we could get a sense of that. And also, what would you say are the key drivers bolstering the numbers this time around?
Well, we don't break out our numbers regionally or by country, but what I can say is we had a fantastic Q1. There's a lot of energy in the organization, and we're really excited. And a lot of that has come from our latest offerings in AI, right? So to give you an idea, our Agentforce offering is only 2 quarters old, and we have 4,000 customers globally paying for it. It's incredible. Okay. It's one of our fastest growing.
Please repeat the 2 numbers again for our listeners.
Yeah. So it's 4,000 customers globally, paying customers running our Agentforce, and it has only been available for 2 quarters. Wow. So it's a landmark thing. You could see the demand, and I can tell you why in a minute. The other thing I want to mention is that there are roughly 8,000 customers using Agentforce. So it's growing at an enormous rate, and I think the reason for that is because it's a bit like the internet was a number of years ago, where people suddenly realized, my gosh, this is a canvas for creating new businesses. What we're seeing with Agentforce is people are coming up with all kinds of ideas and business models from hospitals, and how they're going to transition their patients from outside of the country into these hospitals, to telcos, and how they're going to get to geographically dispersed regions. So people are looking at this as the new canvas for driving new ways and new routes to market, and also complementing their existing staff so they can scale and also reduce things like burnout and reduce time to productivity.
Okay, and you talked about Agentforce. Salesforce is really on the charm offensive to help its customers around the world deploy Agentforce. And I believe you just wrapped up the Singapore leg of your Agentforce World Tour in mid-May. I know you talked about the appeal and the reception of the platform, but how will Agentforce, or more broadly speaking, digital labor, agentic AI, augment your growth trajectory in ASEAN? Yeah,
so let me give you a couple of examples. So first of all, World Tour was amazing. We had one of our biggest ones ever. And the interesting thing about the Singapore World Tour is we get a lot of customers from outside the region, outside the country as well, because they want to learn, they want to hear, and it's been a growing interest. And as I mentioned, we steward a lot of data for our customers, and they want to see how we're going to help them with AI. Now, what we are seeing, and I alluded to this earlier, is we are working with hospitals that are becoming destinations for visitors from outside of ASEAN. And so we have hospitals that are, for example, are advanced in cancer treatment, and they're looking to use Agentforce to help them transition their patients from their homes and get off of paper, where they're losing important patient details, and transitioning them into the hospital, pre-op, post-op, recovery, all of that information. So those patients are treated well with incredible care as they're going through a very complex time. Or we have telcos, as I mentioned, who are looking at how do I get out? Let's say I'm in the Philippines. And the Philippines is a very, very geographically dispersed region, or Indonesia, right? How do I serve customers that are remote? Do I need to stand up a physical office, or can I work with a retail outlet like a Jollibee or a 7-Eleven and coexist without burdening the clerk in those retail agents on how to do a SIM activation or a contract renewal? Can I use Agentforce to augment them so I take the burden off, but we get greater utilization?
You have shared a lot about how it will augment the growth trajectory of your customers, and I suppose that will ultimately filter down to your balance sheet as well. But earlier you talked about the .com boom. Are you worried about agentic AI or AI, say in the case of digital labor force and the likes of such solutions becoming a bubble in the longer term?
No, I think people are being very thoughtful about how they're going about it, right? What we've learned a lot from the past, and everything comes back to a use case. How do I look at if I'm looking at a contact center and I'm getting this demand, right? I think a good example is if you remember, there was that moment several months ago where there was a technical issue where the airlines where there was a glitch that happened and all these airlines were held up. You can imagine how the call center agents were flooded with calls. How do I get back on my flight? What's going on? Because all these airlines were grounded because of this flaw that happened. Imagine if you had agents, digital agents that could burst up to support them. And so we're working very closely with our customers on the use cases, but also how we justify and drive good ROI on those and drive better service. So it's definitely very real. It's creating lots of new opportunities for our customers. And, I think, frankly, it's going to increase service levels and also help areas like, when you have attrition, how do you make sure you don't have to worry about onboarding?
Which means you're also becoming more and more thoughtful in terms of whose workflow are you going to automate with agentic AI,
Correct.
so on and so forth.
Correct.
Now, if you're just tuning in, we're in conversation with Sujith Abraham, Senior VP and General Manager of ASEAN at Salesforce. So, Sujith, in March 2025, Salesforce pledged to invest over $1 billion USD in Singapore over 5 years. Now, the investment will help Salesforce in expanding its customer base in the region. But take us through the rationale behind the move, and how far is Singapore a bright spot for Salesforce to deploy Agentforce given the ongoing labor constraints?
Well, it's very, very important to us. I mean, I'm super excited, super proud, super grateful with the focus the company has on Singapore. It was our first foray into Southeast Asia, right? So what we're doing with the money is we are looking first and foremost at how do we take our existing capabilities and expand them, right? All of our new innovation, how do we bring that here? So whether it's our latest marketing products, our latest AI product, our data cloud platform, which is fundamental to bringing your data together and standing up great AI and putting AI in the flow of work, we're going to use the money to expand our offerings in the region. And the second thing is we're going to continue to fuel our AI research, right? That's really, really important because, as I mentioned before, that informs our product, that informs our own operations, right? And that is becoming an example for the rest of our operations. We're also quite attuned to making sure that the markets around us, the communities around us are on top of the AI. So we're looking at how do we look at our offices and retrofit them with agent activation. So the community around us is getting more access to the skills. And speaking of skills, we're working with institutions of higher learning.
Yes.
So it's all about skilling up, expanding products, expanding awareness, and making sure that this is all accessible to the community around us.
And in that same month, March 2025, Salesforce and Singapore Airlines announced a partnership where the flag carrier will incorporate Agentforce, among other solutions, into its customer case management system. Talk to us about the partnership and any more of such partnerships out of Singapore, say, in the second half of this year.
Sure. Look, we have a deep and meaningful relationship with Singapore Airlines. I am a huge fan. I'm an avid flyer of Singapore Airlines. Sometimes people ask me where I'm based. I say I'm based not in Singapore, but Singapore Airlines. So And I'm proud to say that because,
Yeah.
gosh, when you get on that airline, the treatment and the quality of service is incredible. But what you don't realize is what it takes. I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but it takes about 100 people to get an average airline off the ground. Okay, that's a lot of labor. So you think about just the call center. When somebody calls in, I'm sure you've called in to try and get an upgrade in your seat. And what happens? You're put on hold, right?
Okay. Yes.
And the reason, you've got this amazing group of people, this amazing human that's delivering this exceptional quality service, but what they've got to do is they've got to figure out, okay, where is Tian's information? What loyalty level is she at? What class of ticket does she have now? What is she asking in terms of the change? And oftentimes that information sits in many, many places. What we're doing is surfacing that information quicker and through a generative inquiry that allows them to get that answer faster back to you. But not only that, Agentforce will allow them to take action. And so what's interesting is your data doesn't all sit in Salesforce. It can sit in passenger booking systems.
Yes.
And so not only we come back with an answer, we're able to execute the answer. So some of that happens outside of Salesforce. And that's really the magic here is it's the ability to take action. So to come back with that answer fast, make that person more productive, kind of stave off the burnout that they would feel, but come back accurately, be able to scale that consistently, and be able to execute. And imagine now that person is off hours, and you can handle all that in the off hours.
I wonder if the Agentforce will be more lenient in giving up upgrades. But any more of such partnerships out of Singapore in second half?
Yeah, look, you may know Mel Media. We're doing.
Oh yes,
they are doing some great work with us, particularly with SCAC, where they're using Agentforce to collect data from their content creators and using that data to scale out and reach their consumer base, right?
Wow.
And drive personalization there. We're doing some great work with Panasonic. I think about 73% of their interactions are handled by Agentforce before they so they don't even have to go to a human unless they're much more complicated. So we're working with a number of customers in a number of different areas. We're very excited about it.
Okay. Now, as we set our sights on the future, Salesforce in late May said it would buy software development company Informatica for $8 billion. Is the firm as a whole actively expanding through inorganic means right now? And if so, can we look forward to more big-ticket M&As in ASEAN or in Singapore? Who's on your shopping cart right now?
Yeah. Look, we're excited about Informatica, right? And it's going to really further deepen our capabilities in AI and unifying the customer profile. So it's very excited about that. Of course, that has to go through the whole regulatory process. So that's about all I can say, but I'm excited about that. Look, our growth has come from both sides, organic and inorganic, right? They complement each other. We've had areas where we've built out and areas that we've complemented, and that's all contributed to our growth. What I think is exciting is that we're very, very focused on making all of it work together well and putting our customer at the center of everything we do.
Okay. And, Sujith, we've talked a lot about AI, agentic AI, digital labor thus far, but really besides that, what are the other key trends that will remain as key engines of growth for Salesforce, particularly in ASEAN? Well,
you remember a couple of years ago, there was this whole expression that data is the new oil, right? Data is probably more important than anything right now. And so the first question I get, people are excited about AI, but they also... they're wondering where to start. Every senior leader that I talk to at our customers says, where do we want to start? Where should I start? And that start has to be with bringing your data together, because without good data, you don't get good AI.
Yeah.
So that's been an opportunity for us, because as I mentioned earlier, we sit on a huge trove of data, but we also know there's a ton of data that's relevant to driving AI that's outside of Salesforce. So that's where we came back and built our data cloud platform. Think of it as a connector that brings all of this data.
One source of truth.
Without copying it. And that's powerful, because that means we can reference data through metadata. And so the data cloud platform is what is allowing us, and allowing our customers, more importantly, to enable AI quickly and connect all their systems together with zero copy.
And as we wrap up the conversation, Sujith, keep us excited. Before we let you go, what are some future plans for Salesforce for the rest of this year into the next? What can we expect out of ASEAN?
Well, what I can tell you is it's all about Agentforce, right? We have never been more excited about all the new business models, all the new routes to market, all the new ideas, all the new businesses that we're going to be able to help, enable through agentic services. And we're in a great position to do it. We're excited about giving everyone from SMBs to large organizations, from automotives to financial services to NGOs, access to this great technology.
Thanks so much for the insights,
Thank you.
Sujith. That was Sujith Abraham, Senior VP and General Manager of ASEAN at Salesforce. Thank you so much for joining us on Money FM 89.3.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.